All right. So, those of you who have lived in Texas, reside in Texas, know somebody who's from Texas, you get the idea, worked in Texas, all that. I want to talk to you today a little bit about, and I'm hoping this will help somebody. This is why I'm doing this video. So, again, this involves the state of Texas specifically. Disclaimer, I don't work for the state of Texas. I just want to share this information and my story so that you know that this is a legitimate thing and there could actually be funds in the state of Texas for you or maybe someone you know that has unclaimed funds that needs to be claimed. So let me talk about my experience. So I just want to talk a little bit about my story. So I used to work for a company that it was common for them to owe funds back to individuals. Okay. And I talk in past tense because I don't work anymore. It still exists and it's still around. It's just I'm not going to reference what it is or anything like that. I'm speaking in past tense because I'm no longer working for that company. All right. So, but anyway, they had it often where, like I said, where funds were due people and they couldn't figure out how to contact those people and get those funds out to them for overpayment. Okay. And so let me explain the escheatment process. It's called escheatment, right? ESCHEATMENT. Okay, escheatment. So, escheatment in Texas is a legal process where financial institutions, businesses, or employers transfer abandoned or unclaimed property, such as, okay, dormant bank accounts, okay, uncashed checks, or securities to the state. To the Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts for a specific period of inactivity. So my experience would be that, okay, we have funds for John Doe and we need to escheat these. Well, let's call John Doe. Oop, bad number. Let's send a letter to John Doe. Oops, return for no good address. Whatever, right? I'm just giving examples. And so this period of time passes where it says, okay, we as a business, whatever this business is, right? We need to get rid of these funds off of our books because it's not our funds. It's not for us to claim. It's not for us to, claim revenue on or anything like that. So the rule is we have to escheat it to the state of Texas. So they go through the process of escheating it. It's called escheatment. Okay. And so the state holds these, and this is just a Google definition of Texas claimant. Okay. The state holds these assets indefinitely, allowing rightful owners to claim them at any time. Okay. So, key aspects of Texas escheatment. So, what is considered abandoned? Okay, property becomes abandoned if there is no owner activity. Example, um, no deposits, withdrawals, or contact for a specific dormancy period, generally 1 to 5 years. Common property types: payroll checks, utility deposits, bank accounts, stocks, dividends, and safe deposit box contents. The process: holders, the businesses, must attempt to contact the owner of property valued at $250 or more before reporting it to the state. Well, that's interesting because you'll see in search results that it's not all $250 or above. Okay, so it's interesting that it says that. Report and remittance. Businesses must file annual reports and remit unclaimed property to the Texas Comptroller's office. Recovery: owners can search for and claim their property through the official state site, claimittexas.gov. Okay, and we're going to do a video following my conversation here. We're going to do I'm going to show you how to go to the site, what it looks like, and how to search for anything unclaimed. Failure to comply, as far as their business, the business's failure to comply can result in a 10% annual interest penalty and additional 5 to 10% penalties for late delivery. So again, there's that period of time in which they have to sheet it. Okay, so that's the burden on the business to make sure they do rightful by that. Don't hold funds that's not theirs. Okay, so that's the basic understanding of a sheetman. So a business has sheeted the funds to the state, so it sits there. So here's where my story comes in. So that's how I learned about a sheetman. I worked for a business in which we had a process that did that, and it got it sheeted out, and we were done with the funds. So I'll give a few examples of what I've been through. So my father, when he was alive, he had, for years, he had like an IRA at a bank. I said IRA. I think it was a CD, a certificate of deposit. And so I think for the most part, he put his money in there, some funds in there, and um I think it there for a while it was like every 5 years they wanted to know, okay, what do you want to do with it now? And he would just tell them, okay, what do you want to do with it now? Each time this came around, and they need to know what you want to do with it, right? Do you want to extend it and now do 3 years, a year, 5 years, whatever the case is? But I think in this last case, they didn't get an answer, right? Maybe they had reached out to him by letter, not really sure. We had been in one location where we lived for a number of years, and then another location where we lived a number of years. So maybe Dad just didn't get the mail material. I don't really know. It's not like we moved around and they couldn't find him in that case. So I can't really explain that exactly. But anyway, he decided at one point he had had this CD for a long time. And he just made the decision one day he was going to go buy. He was getting older, and there was something he wanted, which to me, the reason for him wanting to get some of the money out and what he was going to use it for is a moot point. I disagree with what he wanted to use it for, just to buy something. But anywho, he was going by the bank. He says, I'm going to go by the bank. I don't ever do this. Wasn't even thinking about it, but I'm going to go by that so I could buy this, whatever. I'm going to go by the bank, meaning drop by. And I'm going to get these funds, and I'm going to buy this thing, whatever. And so I remember we went there, and I mean, I had no reason as his daughter. I had no reason to go in the bank. I'm thinking he's going to go in there and he'll be out in a little bit and we'll be on our way. Well, after much deliberation, and I was thinking, did they hire him? Like, did the bank hire him in there? I'm thinking, what in the world? I mean, he was there a while. Well, to make a long story short, he came out that bank livid. Okay? So the bank, I'll speed it up much faster, but the bank had told him that they had sheeted his funds to the state of Texas. Well, for somebody who didn't understand, I mean, no fault of his own, but I mean, he didn't understand what a sheetman meant. And they gave him a number to call, and he was like, what in the... Anyway, after a few choice words and, trying to hope he calmed down at some point, I went back to my roots of, like, well, I used to work for this business. I understand what a sheetman is, all that. And so I explained it to him, and I told him as we were moving on down the road and going on, and I told him, I said, I think I can find your money. And it was like, what are you talking about? You think you can find your money? I don't even know what they're talking about. What do you mean you can find... Anyway, what do you mean you can find my money? So anyway, so sure enough, I went on to texasclaimit.gov, and I searched for my father's name, and I found his funds sheeted to the state of Texas. So I said, okay, Dad, here's what we need to do, And so at that time, in that example, at that time, he was still around. So it was easy to say, I reside here. My prior address was here. Here's my ID. Here I am. This is me. And I would say that once we did the paperwork that was required to claim it, that in a couple of weeks he had his check in the mail. And I'm not talking a few dollars, it was in the thousands. So for him to be wired up about that, I completely understand. For him not understanding why that occurred. Now, I still to this day don't understand. I get that he probably needed to make a decision on what he wanted to do with the CD. Do you want to extend it? Do you want to distribute it? Like take it out, all that. But I don't guess I completely understand why it had to be escheated, other than maybe a letter went out and he never read it, and maybe they called and he never returned their call. I'm not, I don't understand that part, because as we talked about the rules of escheatment, I'm not really understanding that. He must have been hard to get. I can't figure that out. So that's what happened in that story. So let's fast forward a little bit. And I don't think my mom passed away about 10 years ago. So I don't think I have anything to say there about like when she passed away and the claimant site or anything like that. I don't think. Okay, so let's fast forward a little bit more, and my dad passes away. And it's not like you often think about funds or whatever, but when there's a life event that happens, you might just one day be thinking, hey, wait a minute. I haven't checked on anything like that in a while. Something could have changed. And so, I wonder, maybe I should check we live in Texas. Maybe I should check that side just to be sure. So anyway, after my father passed away, it's not like it was immediate. It's just when I thought about it, I went on and I searched on Claimant, and sure enough, Dad had some funds. And the reason those funds were there is, it had been years of the electric company that my parents were involved in over the years. They did capital distributions, and so they were trying to distribute out to different. I won't call them members, but you know what I mean. People that are involved or whatever with that electric company and pay because they provide them the service, right? So anyway, they had capital distributions they intended to get to my father because that particular utility was in his name. Well, see, he had passed away, but they don't know this, so they're trying to contact him by what little bit they know. And so I found that, and so I had to claim that on behalf. Now, where it gets a little bit more detailed is I was the legal heir responsible for my parents' estate, basically, right? So I found those funds. I went out to Texas Claimant, claimed them, and then did the proper paperwork. And in that case, it's more involved, right? Because he's no longer around. So I happened to have a lawyer that had done some paperwork for me, and getting some other things taken care of, with mom and dad passing away. So once I did that, I had this legal document that there was what they call an affidavit of heirship. It's a legal document that says, here's their kids, basically. They're still alive. This one was deceased, or whatever the case may be. They're both deceased, so therefore, basically, you're proving that you're what's left. Okay. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not trying to explain all that, but I'm talking about my situation. It was pretty cut and dry. So I had this affidavit of heirship paperwork that I was able to send and attach with the other requirements, my ID and things like that, to prove that I was a child of this person. So again, I was able to get the funds from the state of Texas because it was genuinely my father's. And so of course we distributed as we should, from heirs of his estate. So I got on this subject here a while back with someone, and I was just saying, unclaimed.org, don't forget you could do this and that. And I pulled up, and lo and behold, I found myself, and I was like, so I'm confused again, on I mean, I've been in a particular location for a number of years, but I think in this case, I know a little bit about it. I don't know why it took so long to go through that process, but I'll make a long story short. My mom had, um, a, I'm trying to think. We worked together, and there had been a change in company anyway, and they started up basically a different savings plan. We might as well call it 401k. They call it different things, right? Depending on the company. But anyway, so we had started working for a different company just shortly before she passed away. I'm talking about within a month of itself. Okay. And so, that's what I'm seeing on one thing, that's on claimant is, I think, okay, like I know I was beneficiary to like take care of if something were to happen to her. You do the paperwork when you start off with the new company, get all that stuff taken care of, and lo and behold, I mean, within, like I said, within weeks, mom passed away. So, which was so unfortunate, but so, it's come along now where I don't know why, but this company, my sister and I both, we've worked back and forth with this company, telling them that mom passed away and doing the paperwork they said and sending it off to them, whatever. But I think they should have just stayed in Texas because they simply didn't get something they need, from us that was legit or legal, or I don't know. And so there it is. I need to go through the process of, using that legal document that I already have, to claim that as well. And so those are just some examples that I can tell you from personal experience. It is absolutely legitimate, and that you want to only go to texasclaimit.gov to claim any funds that you do find. So I hope this helps someone. Sometimes you don't know stuff's out there. I've looked up relatives. I know that there's other people out there that I know that has funds out there. Whether they claim it or whether they don't is up to them. And I've helped people do the paperwork to claim what is theirs. And I don't care if it's a lot of money or if it's not a lot of money. What's yours is yours, and I mean, they're just sitting on it because they couldn't find the right stuff, the right info, for whatever reason. So again, I want you to know it's legit. So if you have money out there, claim it. Okay. So now we will go off and I will demo the site for you, and I hope you find this helpful. Okay. So what you would do to start off is you're going to just Google Texas Claim It, and then you can just select one of the items here. All right. So on the right hand side, you can search by a business name or your last name here, a first name here. And then you could also narrow it down to a specific city. You can kind of play around with that. And then, of course, property ID. The property ID, what they mean by that is once you get search results, everything has a property ID. It has a unique ID number through the state of Texas on the claimant site. So you would have to know that in order to put in a property ID. And I would say that that's probably if you've already found some results and you have the property ID and you just want to go straight to it at that point. And then I don't know what the please specify means, kind of grayed out. I don't know what that's for, but your current zip code, you could also search and narrow it down. So I'm going to put a search in here of my own name, and the reason I'm doing that is because I can tell you for sure that I found something for myself. So I've pre-looked at that, and we'll go over that. So basically, for the state of Texas, at least, right? And by the way, disclaimer, I don't work for the state of Texas or anything like that. This is just something I want to share for my Texas folks because it is a legit thing. The state of Texas does have funds that are not accounted for basically when people are due money from different companies that has had to issue the funds to the state, which I talked about earlier. So now we're going to do an actual search. This is the actual site. So it is searching for my name. So on these search results, whenever you get results, if it's a broad search, right, like you put in minimal information, it'll show you results. Your search returned 1,000 unclaimed properties, and then it'll say exact name will be shown first, which I agree with, followed by properties with similar names to the one entered. So you can just scroll through these pages, see if you've ever lived somewhere, see if something looks like it would be yours. And you just scroll through here. If you don't see anything on the first page and you go to the next page down here, you would just click on next and continue going. Now, in my case, I happen to know this right here I need to claim. And you can see right here that it was reported in 2024 and it's for this amount of money. Now, as far as I know from working with this site for a while, different years and different intervals, and there was a long time ago, I think my mother had like 10 cents out there from when she used to work for a candy company. And I believe, now somebody can fact check me, but I believe that claim it, when you get search results, the search result has to be $25 or more before the result would come up. So I think if it's less than $25, we wouldn't see it. I don't know that to be factual, but you'll notice as we scroll through here, I don't think anything's going to be under $25. Okay. So once you found one or many, once you've done your research, which research could take a while, you may think, oh, well, I used to live in, this town and that town and anyway. So basically, the state of Texas has funds when things are issued from a company. They have to get it off of their books, right? There's this period of time in which it has to be reported, and that company that it is, they have to have tried to contact the person in several ways, and not have their information for whatever reason. So then they'll issue it to the state. So this is a legit thing. I would not go when you do, like, if you're searching around and you have someone say, oh, well, I didn't go to claimittexas.gov. I found so-and-so and went to it, and it said they would claim it for me and all this and charge me X, Y, and Z. You should not go through a third party to pay them to get any funds that you or a loved one has, or friend or whatever, right, has with the state of Texas, because going this way through claimittexas.gov, they do not charge you for you to get your entitled funds, right? Like, they do not charge you. All right. So I just wanted to say that, because you should not have to pay anyone outside of here to get your money for you. All right. So claim, once you claim it, and I say claim, you're going through the process of claiming it. We're not actually claiming it at this moment. We're starting the process, right? So I know for sure this is mine. Let me tell you how I know this, because I don't see an address. In my research that I've already done, I've found that my mother, of course, her name and my name, it's not really hard to put together when you do all that. Well, there's another line on the on the site that has my mother's name, that has this same property ID, right? And it's written this way as well and all that. And it even has the same dollar value and the same year reported. So I know that I need to go through the steps to claim this because of that alone, right? So once you've selected it, you're going to, let's say that we're done and we need to get that in the works. Let's go ahead and do that. Now, I could have multiple lines, but in this case, for example purposes, I'm going to have this one line. So you say continue to file the claim, and then you select here. In my case here, I'm the owner. Now, if you are responsible for a deceased person, and you have a line selected because you're like, oh, well, that was theirs, I need to take action to claim that. I've had to do that for a parent, right? Then that line you would select, you're the legal heir to the owner, right? Something like that. Or any of these other options, your situation. So you would select the most appropriate option. So then after you've done that, you would click on next, and you would fill out all the appropriate fields, your current address, email address, your home phone number, those things. Once you've completed this section, right, with your social security number, all that they need, then you're going to come down here, and then you'll be reminded of what you've selected that you need to claim. And then you would click next. When you click next, it's going to take you to a page that says that you've started the process, and you'll get an email. All right. Now, in that email, it's going to explain, what's basically, it's going to come from texasclaimit.gov. Super simple. And there's going to be an attachment in that email that it's a form that you're going to complete, of the additional information they want, like identifying documents, like your driver's license and things like that. It tells you what you need on the form. And then the page 3, when you scroll down on the form, it's going to give you more details about what you selected here, to make sense of, that is mine, because maybe once I get to that page that they've emailed me, it actually has my address, or it actually has more information about the company that involves, which in this case it does. I know this involves a 401k plan. No, I'm wrong, it doesn't. On this one, it involves a stock. I said 401k, but it's actually stock. It was stock. So anyway, I will go through the motions, and everything to do that on through the claimant. So again, guys, this is actually, this is legit. Please don't think it's a gimmick. It is claimittexas.gov. It is for people who have lived in the state of Texas at any point, worked for a company, or had been or was beneficiary of something where someone passed away and they're the beneficiary. And all the other things that I talked about earlier. I'm just kind of recapping. So continue with your 100 envelope challenge, and I will check with you next time, and I hope this has been helpful.